In lesson 51, we're going to talk about graphing linear equations. Before we start on this, you've probably graphed equations before. Now remember, a linear equation, notice that you have the word line and the word linear. So really what we're doing here is we're taking, when we make these graphs, you're going to get a graph that's going to have a straight line. So linear equations meaning equations or graphs that are going to give us straight lines. Now, just to review before we get into this, if I have the ordered pair 2, -1, remember in an ordered pair, the first number is called the x-coordinate and the second number is called the y-coordinate. So in other words, in a coordinate plane, remember this is my y-axis and remember this is my x-axis. And the first number then is going to tell me, which is the 2, it's going to tell me how far left or right I move along the x-axis. So here, I'm going to remove right 2 and then down 1 because the second number tells me how far up or down I move. So if I mark these, I'm just going to mark these with a couple slashes and then we'll get into this. So I'm going to move right 2, so 1, 2 along the x-axis and then down 1. So this point would be located right there, or in other words in the fourth quadrant. Remember your quadrants are quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4, and they're labeled counterclockwise using Roman numerals. Alright, let's take a look at the first example now. It says graph y equals 2x minus 1. Now, to get an idea of what this graph's going to look like, what we do is we create what's called an x and a y table. So I'm going to make a little T, kind of a T shape, and then I'm going to label this left column x and this right column y. Now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to put numbers in for x. So in other words, I'm going to put an arrow right there. Because whatever I put in for x, I'm going to multiply it by 2, and then take that answer and subtract 1 from it. And that's going to give me y then. So as an example, you can pick any number in the world that you want to. It does not matter. Everybody's not going to pick the same numbers to put in for x. My best advice to you is to keep it very simple. Use simple numbers. Obviously, you probably wouldn't want to put fractions in for x, or maybe put decimals in for x. Keep it easy. So maybe the most easy numbers is would be 0. All right, so I'm going to put 0 in for x. So let's see, y is equal to 2 times 0 minus 1. So y is equal to, make sure I multiply first, so 2 times 0 is 0 minus 1. So y is equal to a -1. So I get a -1. Now really in my, in what I actually going to do, what I was going to get to is, so one ordered pair or one graph or one point that's going to lie on this line would be 0 and a -1. All right, now I'm going to erase what I have there, and let's find another number to put in for x. And it doesn't matter what number you use. So I'm going to use another easy number. I'm going to use 1 for x. So y is equal to 2 times 1 minus 1. Y is equal to 2, because 2 times 1 is 2, minus 1. Y then is equal to 1. So y would be 1. So another ordered pair would be 1, 1. Now usually we find at least 3 ordered pairs. If you just found 2 ordered pairs, sometimes it's easy to make a mistake. If you find 3 ordered pairs or 3 points, remember the whole idea is these 3 points should lie on a straight line. And if you made a mistake when you found 3 of them, 1 of them would not lie on that line. And you can tell you've made a mistake. All right, now just to change it up a little bit, I'm going to use a -1. I'm going to use a negative, and I throw a negative in. That's me. You don't have to. So y is equal to 2 times a -1 minus 1. Y is equal to a -2 minus 1. Let's see, temperature drops 2 and drops 1, so y would be a -3. So my last ordered pair would be a -1, -3. Now I want to emphasize that you may not use the same numbers I use to put in for x. You're still going to get the same looking line as I'm going to graph here in a little bit. Something else I want to emphasize is make sure you kind of understand why we're putting numbers in for x and not for y. See, the only way the easiest way for me to figure out what one of the letters is to put them in to this part of the equation. and then do my order of operations, and then the answer would be what y is then. So I'm going to make my, my graph. Remember, this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. And let's see, I'm going to go, I'll go 4 each way. And then I'm going to graph these points. All right, so I have 0, -1. So 0 means I'm not going to move left or right any, but I'm going to go down 1. So the point would be about, I'm going to change the color there, the point would be about right there. Now I'm going to move 1, 1, so I'm going to graph 1, 1. So start at the origin, move right 1, up 1. And then I'm going to graph a -1, -3. So move from the origin, move left 1, and then down 3. Right? So it's going to be about right there. Now, you're going to have graph paper when you do these, and when you do have graph paper, then you're going to be able to take a ruler and you will be able to draw a straight line through those 3 points. And this is called a linear equation. And then we name it, and the name of it is y equals 2x minus 1, because that's the original equation. All right, let's take a look at example 2. Now, example 2 is very similar. The difference is when I put numbers in for x, I got to multiply them by a -1/2. So now we're getting into those fractions a little bit, aren't we? So I'm going to make my table, my xy table. And let's pick really easy numbers to put in for x. So probably the easiest number is 0. So let's see, y is equal to a -1/2 times what I put in for x, which is 0. Then I'm going to add 1. Now, order of operation says you multiply first. Well, what's a -1/2 times 0? 0, plus the 1 then. So what's y equal to? 1. So that was easy. Now it gets a little more complicated because 0 was very easy. Now, I probably don't want to put 1 in for x. And the reason I don't want to put 1 in for x is this. If I used 1, let's see, y equals a -1/2 times 1 plus 1. Now, even though it's easy to multiply a -1/2 times 1, which is a -1/2, it gets a little more complicated to add those. Add 1 to -1/2, because you've got a fraction. So the whole idea here is I want to try to avoid getting a fraction after I multiply whatever I put in for x times a -1/2. So this is what I mean. I'm going to use 2. I'm going to put 2 in for x. And this is y. So y equals a -1/2 times 2, right, plus 1. Now I'm going to multiply. Now, notice I can cancel out. I can cancel out the 2. So I want to put numbers in for x where I can cross-cancel easily. So remember, I end up with 1s there. Now, what's a -1 times 1? So what's a -1 times my 1 there? Well, I get a -1 and then plus the 1, which is 0. So when x is 2, y is 0. Now think about what a third number I could put in for x would be. Something where I can get the 2 to cancel out. You could use 4. You could use 6. You could use a -2. You could use a -4. In fact, I'm going to use a I'll use a -4. So y is equal to a -1/2 times a -4 plus 1. Now I can cross cancel. I can divide both these by 2. That leaves a -2 there, doesn't it? All right, now continuing, so let's see here. I've got a -1 times a -2, which is 4. Or excuse me, that didn't look right. -1 times a -2 is 2, right? -1 times a -2 is 2, plus the 1. And I get 3 there. So y would be 3. So I have my ordered pairs then listed here. And now all I got to do is graph them. So I'm going to make my x-axis, or my y-axis and my x-axis. So this is my y and this is my x. And I'm going to go 4 slashes each way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and same thing going up, and the same thing going down. Okay, first order pair is 0, 1. I'm not going to move left or right any, but I am going to go up 1. So right there. And then 2, 0, meaning I'm going to move right 2, and then not up or down any. So right there. And then I'm going to start at the origin, move left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 3. So about in that area. Now if I were doing this on graphic paper, then I'd take my ruler and I'd be able to draw a straight line through those. And I kind of missed that one, but you get the idea. Then name it. So y equals a negative 1/2 x plus 1. And this is the graph of a linear equation. Okay, quickly, I want to go through one more. And this is actually a pretty easy one. So I'm going to make my x and y table. And again, I'm going to put numbers in for x, take the opposite of it to give me what y is. So here's what I mean. Let's use an easy number, so I'll put 0 in for x. So y is equal to the opposite of 0, because I put 0 in for x. What's the opposite of 0? Well, it's not a negative 0. 0 is neutral. 0 is neither negative nor positive, so it's just 0. So one word pair would be 0, 0. Pick another number to put in for x. I'll pick 1. And you don't want to pick too big of numbers, because then you got to make your graphs larger. So I'll pick 1. So y is equal to the opposite of whatever x is, which is 1. And I'm just using parentheses to emphasize that I'm going to take the opposite of whatever x is. What's the opposite of 1? Well, it's a negative 1. So 1, negative 1. Let's pick one more. I'll use a negative 1. So say I put a negative 1 now in for x. Okay, so what I'll have then is y is equal to the opposite of whatever x is, which is a negative 1. What's the opposite of a negative 1? Well, 1. So I have a negative 1, 1. Now we'll quickly graph this. And x-axis and y-axis. I'm just going to go 3 all ways here, because I don't have real big numbers to graph. All right, so let's see, 0, 0 is right there. 1, negative 1, move right 1, down 1, about right there. And then move left 1 and up 1, so about right there. And then I take a ruler and I can draw a straight line through that. And the name of this equation is y is equal to the opposite of x. And this is called graphing linear equations using XY table or a t-table.